morning, everybody. This is Man Coverage with Knoxville Nate and James the Man Bonneville. We are here with you live April 10, 2022. It is a Sunday. It is a gorgeous day here. I hope it's nice where you all are. I want to first thank everybody for joining us today and for joining us throughout our college football journey. We love college football. We love talking about it, but we wouldn't do it if we didn't actually have people tuning in. So thank you. James, how are you doing today, sir?
And it better be a crime.
That's what I wanted to hear. We are going to talk to you a little bit today about college football. Obviously, we got the offseason going on. We've got some spring ball occurring. We have some spring games that are going through. We're going to break down those spring games probably in the upcoming weeks. We're just going to go through what we got out of the spring ball, what we got, what we saw, what we learned from the spring games. But I want to wait till all those conclude. What we're going to talk about today is obviously the draft. We got pro days wrapping up, fresh off the Ohio State Buckeyes pro day. We've got Ohio State wide receiver, special teams standout Chris Booker, who's going to join us today about the mid-show hour. So stick around for that. Prior to that, we're going to break down all of our favorite and most intriguing draft prospects by position. So that's what we're going to do today. But we're going to have to talk a little bit about some sombering news because one of my favorite players of all time in college football passed away yesterday at the age of 24. Dwayne Haskins only played 1 year really as a starter in college football, but what a year it was. This was a kid that threw for almost 5,000 yards, threw for 50 touchdowns. Unbelievable. One of the greatest seasons in college football history. Broke the Big Ten record set by Drew Brees, shattered 28 Buckeye records. And, I don't know what else you can say about him on the field as a college player. He was big in big moments. He was a first-team All-Big Ten. He was the MVP of the Big Ten championship game. He was the MVP of the Rose Bowl. I mean, there really wasn't anything else he could do in college football after that one season, and thus the reason he went to the NFL and was drafted in the first round. Had kind of a bad situation going on in Washington, which it's been a bad situation there for about 20 years. But was really hoping to resurrect his career. I was looking forward to potentially seeing him as the starter this year, or at least battling for it in Pittsburgh. And Coach Tomlin has been singing the praises of Dwayne Haskins and his work ethic, and to get killed at the age of 24 on the side of a highway getting hit by a truck. I can't think of anything worse for him and for his family and for all of his friends and the people that loved him. James, what did you think when you heard the news yesterday?
Well, it hurt. I mean, it was funny. I stopped thinking of him as a football player and what he's accomplished at Ohio State and getting drafted in the first round, and thought of him more as, a father, a husband, a brother, a friend, a teammate. I mean, there's so many things that you could add to him that go beyond the lines on the field, that he really touched a lot of people out there today. And I for those that knew or close to him, that played with him, that knew him, my heart goes out to you and my sympathies to you and to his family on his passing. I mean, we like to talk a lot about what goes on between the lines, but it's outside the lines that we really touch people. And I want to make sure people know that we're thinking about him and his family at this time period. So
definitely, and thinking about him as a person.
Yeah.
I was appalled yesterday by some of the negative comments that came out from some people in the media. Regardless of what you think about the kid, first off, those guys don't know him personally. And it sounded to me like Gil Brandt was bitter because he didn't come to his stupid draft party. And, Adam Schefter, obviously a Michigan guy through and through, and let that blue bleed out in his comments. I mean, you don't need to comment what you think about him, his decisions or his playing style or whatever. That's not what's important when somebody who's 24 years old passes away. And I just thought that was horrible to see some of the people react like that. I mean, I obviously I only met Dwayne one time, but I got to see him play live a few times, and from all accounts, from my personal experience, and from all accounts, he's a very nice young man. Came from the Bullis School in Maryland, had a tremendous high school career.
Yeah,
And
you can say that again.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. One of the top recruits in the country, and always apparently was a Buckeye fan. So got to live his dream out.
It's funny. I keep looking back at. I remember because that was a very late switch Haskins made from decommitting. I think it was on signing day. He decommitted from Maryland and DJ Durkin to go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how much that decommitment changed that program. How much better Maryland could have been. Now, granted, Maryland, Dwayne Haskins could have been like a lot of Maryland quarterbacks and got hurt. But, I mean, Haskins was a special talent in college, and he showed that at Ohio State. But I think today we got to remember the person and the impact he had off the field, because, he couldn't have done what he did on the field unless he had that impact off the field in the locker room. And today we're going to have somebody that can talk about, that very thing and have the impact he had as well as other people had on him. So,
yeah, the guys believed in him. I mean, you saw it when JT Barrett went down with an injury against Michigan. Ohio State was losing the game, and Dwayne came in, and he just knew that they were going to win, and his guys believed in him. And it wasn't just his athletic ability, because he obviously had that, but it was his moxie, the it factor, the character, the leadership. Those were the things that really stood out for me for Dwayne Haskins in his lone season as a starter, especially because I don't know if you recall, but Greg Schiano was the defensive coordinator that year in 2018, and the defense was horrible. Despite having some immense amount of talent on defense, they just were not schematically good at all. And especially thinking back about that Maryland game that went into 2 overtimes, Dwayne Haskins threw for like 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, and they needed every one of them to get that victory. So this kid was a winner, and he was a good teammate and a kid that was, looked up to by the rest of, the guys on the Ohio State team. So, very, very, very tragic loss. And as you mentioned, my heart and my thoughts and my prayers go out to Dwayne's wife and to his family. This has just got to be a horrible, horrible time for them. So I hate to start the show on a down note, but just had to talk about that, because that is something that went down yesterday and hit me pretty hard. But moving along, I'd like to go ahead and get into our draft breakdown. Obviously, we have a guest coming on today, so I want to go ahead and get into this. Draft is coming up. We got less than 3 weeks ahead, almost 2 weeks now. The draft is going to be upon us. And obviously, we know going through this draft process a number of times, guys are going to go up, guys are going to go down. People are going to talk them up. People are going to go through their, break down their film, break down their combine results, their pro days, all that type of thing, and have mixed reviews on them. But, I think we've got a pretty good handle on what we think so far. And I want to get into the edge rushers first. Edge rusher is probably the number one position that guys look for in the draft after quarterback. As we know, this draft is not quarterback rich, despite what anybody says. And so I think probably the first player taken off the board is going to be an edge rusher. There's been a lot of talk about Aiden Hutchinson. We got Kayvon Thibodeau, George Karlaftis from Purdue, Trayvon Walker, David Adabo, Jermaine Johnson, your boy from Minnesota, Mafe, Nick Bonito from Oklahoma, and, a couple others that'll probably be drafted pretty high. James, give me your assessment about the guys that you like from this edge rusher group.
Well, I mean, it's funny. You nailed it on the head before about everybody's looking at Aiden Hutchinson 1. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I like Trayvon Walker from Georgia. His only downside in my mind is, was it him or all the talent with him? I mean, because you had Wyatt, you had Davis, you had Nakobe Dean, blah, blah. I could keep going on and on and on and on. It sounds like the Miami defense in 2001 or 95 Nebraska defense, which was just stacked to the gills with players. But the more I keep looking at his combine numbers, the numbers don't lie. The metrics don't lie. I think this kid is the real deal, and I think Jacksonville should take this kid one. I think he's got the speed power combination to really change the directory of what Byron left, which is trying to do there. I mean, granted, this DN draft is ridiculously deep. I mean, heck, you've got guys in the ADP like 110 with Saunders from Cincinnati. I mean, there's so much here. If you're looking for an edge guy, you could go 3 rounds deep and still find great quality at this position. But what are your thoughts, Nate?
Yeah, I like Walker, and he, to me, he showed up big on the biggest stage, played really well, in the college football playoff, and I think was dominant at times. And I could see him going one for sure. A guy that I really like on top of Walker. I could see Walker going one, and I think I'm with you. I think Walker or this guy, Jermaine Johnson, out of Florida State, should be the number one guy taken. I mean, look at this dude's production. This guy, Jermaine Johnson, was the ACC Player of the Year. Just an incredible burst off the edge. But this is a dude that can also play the run and can really get after it. But as we know, throwing the ball and getting after the guy throwing the ball are the number one things in pro football. So that's why Jermaine Johnson, to me, is it. I mean, look at him. He plays with tenacity. He's got a really, really quick first step. I mean, he can get around big time pass blockers, but he can also run through them. And I love his power. I love his measurables. There's not a whole lot I don't like about him. He's 6'5", 254. He's got the frame where he could add a little bit of weight, but could still get after the pass rusher because he's got that elite top end speed. And, this was a kid that was on that. I mean, think about this. This Jermaine Johnson kid was also on that Georgia team. And I just I'm thinking about all the talent that was on that Georgia defensive line. This kid was on that same defensive line, 2 years ago. So, this is the kid that when I watch the tape, he really comes off as the best edge rusher, in my opinion, and the dude that I would probably take first if I was the guy in the draft room. What is your thoughts on Johnson?
Well, he's a Minnesota kid. He went to Eden Prairie, played for Mike Grant at Eden Prairie, was all Metro his senior year. I mean, I know a lot about this kid. Great speed off the edge. I mean, he's definitely going to go in that top 10 area and could, very well could be that number one pick if things end up right. It just seems more and more like Jacksonville's leaning that direction.
I think so too. I mean, I'm not, I'm not down on Hutchinson. I mean, I think he's a good player. I think he tested well.
Yeah.
I'm not down on him, but I just think if I was drafting someone and I was going to invest millions of dollars and I'm watching the tape, this is the kid that jumps off for me. And this is who I would go after. I mean, I'm not saying that Aiden Hutchinson shouldn't be drafted. I'm not saying that he's not a good talent in this draft. But I'm just saying if I'm looking at these two guys and I could pick either one, and I want to make them the cornerstone of my defense for the next 10 years, this is who I'm going with.
Correct. Absolutely. I mean, quite frankly, if Aiden Hutchinson doesn't go 1, he doesn't slip past 5.
Right. Yeah, I think he may end up in Detroit, honestly.
Exactly.
If he doesn't go to Jacksonville. But if I'm Jacksonville, you've got to get this right. You've got to get a guy that can be a game changer starting on day one, because we know things have gone downhill for Jacksonville for quite some time, and they need somebody that can make a difference immediately. I don't know what you think, but that's how I think about it.
Well, it's funny you bring it up. I never even thought about this, but I think you could make a realistic argument that if he doesn't go, if Aiden Hutchinson doesn't go 1, he has to go 2, because Detroit is going to have no choice but to go after the hometown kid. I mean, went to Divine Child and Dearborn. I mean, Dearborn's not that far away from their practice facility. I mean,
No.
it seems like a no-brainer in my mind. So
I agree, and I think he probably won't get past 2, but I just like Johnson at number 1
I do, yeah.
because
For me, it's Walker, but I can completely see your point.
yeah, Walker's good too. Either one of those guys I could see going number 1, but probably the most rich position in this draft, at least in my opinion, is the wide receiver position. I think this is a draft where there's going to be some guys taken high from the wide receiver, but you can also get a guy later because of the depth at this position. Guys like Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, Traylon Burks, Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, Tolbert, Justin Ross, Pierce from Cincinnati, Mechie from Alabama. There's a bunch of David Bell from Purdue, who I think still is a good-looking prospect. Wandale Robinson from Kentucky. All these guys, I think, are going to be difference makers in the league and potentially can make a splash in year 1. Probably the most intriguing guy is Jamison Williams coming off the injury. Where's he going to go? How far does he fall due to tearing his ACL in the championship game? That's going to be something to watch. But James, who do you like? Who's your guy that you really feel like is going to make an impact in year 1?
There's a couple guys, actually. I had one guy written down as a guy that I've been talking about probably for the last few months. Christian Watson, North Dakota State wide receiver, a guy who probably wasn't going to get drafted at the beginning of going to last season. And now we are talking, I've seen some mocks have him in the first round going to Kansas City, which if there's a place to go, Kansas City would be the it factor with Mahomes being there. Got great length, great on the edge. I'm a big fan of Christian Watson. Not many people know about him, but another name that just kind of hit me while we were talking is, there's a comp to Michael Thomas, former Ohio State receiver, who slipped down in a draft. And nobody understood why, because he was projected as a first rounder, and that is David Bell from Purdue. Yeah. I think these guys are very, very similar in a lot of ways. And I could see that. Look at what he did to Iowa, ripping them up. You just don't do that. He is an incredible receiver, and somehow he's getting downgraded. What are your thoughts, Nate?
Yeah, I don't really. Did he have the fastest 40 time? No, but he's fast on the field, and his numbers and his production, really stand out for me. And I think that
look at him 50-50 balls. He knows how to box people out so well. In a lot of ways, like Rashad Bateman used to do it in Minnesota before he went to Baltimore. He's just that good at doing it.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of Rashad Bateman as far as his production goes. That's kind of who I comp him with. But obviously, who I'm going to talk about, and that's Chris Olave. This is a kid who has just done nothing but produce since he got the opportunity to set foot on the field. And we think of all the great, you just mentioned Michael Thomas, and we think about all the great wide receivers that have set foot in Ohio State: Joey Galloway, David Boston, Terry McLaurin, name it. There's been receivers there for years. Paris Campbell, Teddy Ginn Jr., Santonio Holmes. The list goes on and on and on. This guy has been the most productive of any of them. Leads all Ohio State receivers all time in touchdowns, and just is a really good route runner. He's always been big in the big moments. It just seemed to me whenever Ohio State needed a big play and really, was at that point where somebody had to do something, this guy always seemed to do it, whether he was covered or not. I'm in love with him. And if I was a team in the NFL and I needed a wide receiver, I don't know why you wouldn't take this guy. And I like Garrett Wilson too, but this dude is just a production machine, and love to get your thoughts on him.
I'm the one thing about Olave is he never feels like he's going full steam. He always seems like the game has come so naturally to him that he always has something left in reserve. He's always relaxed, very kept together. The question is, where does he go? I think personally, if I were him, If Arizona was available, going back home probably wouldn't be the worst idea in the world for him to play in that kind of offense with Kyler Murray. I don't think they need another receiver, but I mean, he can only imagine how he'd probably appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of homes for him. I don't think he fits everywhere, but I think he definitely is a mid to late first round guy that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I think he goes in the first round. I honestly think Wilson may go ahead of him, but
Correct.
I think whoever gets this guy is going to be very happy because I think he's so polished, in my opinion, that he's going to be able to step in and not really, we've seen it recently. It used to be, as you recall back in the day, it took guys a little while to get going in the NFL. I mean, guys didn't really step in usually in year one and dominate. But, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, it's been occurring more and more. And I think this is a guy that can do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. But this is a very, even if you don't get a receiver in the first round, you're going to be able to get some talent later on. And I think that'll lead to some teams passing on a wide receiver in round one because they think they can get a guy that can step in and help their team later on. So we'll see what happens there. Another position group that I wanted to talk about is the running backs in this draft. Obviously, running back is a position that is not valued the way that it used to be. But, we've seen where guys can make a difference. I mean, Derrick Henry obviously been dominating since he was drafted. Last year, the Steelers really needed a running back in the worst way. Najee Harris not only delivered, but exceeded expectations, in my opinion. And there's some guys that I think can step in and do that this year. Kenneth Walker, the third, is a dude that I'm really high on. As you know, I've been high on him all offseason. Breece Hall, another guy I can see coming in and playing. I really like the versatility of James Cook. I thought Brian Robinson had a tremendous year at Alabama. And then the transfer from Alabama, Jerome Ford, had himself a hell of a year at Cincinnati. What do you think about this position group as far as the running backs go, and who is it that you like?
Honestly, I think it's pretty weak compared to past years. A guy I've always been a big fan of out of Wichita Northwest via Iowa State, Breece Hall. Everybody kept going back to Brock Purdy and that defense. Breece Hall made that team click. And I think that is the biggest problem that Matt Campbell's going to have next year is not having a Breece Hall type of running back there for him in his backfield in the staple. Do I still think Iowa State's going to be good? Absolutely. But Breece Hall was a very special player. I think he got really overshadowed going into this year. But he's a phenomenal talent, and I could see him gone by the third round.
Yeah, I agree. And they had Armstrong a couple of years ago, and then there was really no drop off when Hall took over as the starter. And, really opened up things in the passing game, or should have opened up things in the passing game for the Iowa State Cyclones. So I like him. But, one guy that I don't think is really getting the pub that he should be is Notre Dame running back Kyren Williams.
Yes.
This is a dude that, not really the biggest guy, but man, he plays big. And I mean, look at this run right here. This was a play here where he probably should have been tackled in the backfield against UNC, and he took it to the house. And I saw a number of plays. I mean, watch this. There's no hole. There is no hole. I mean, this is a pretty good offensive line at Notre Dame, but you saw that play. That was a going right up the guard's butt, and there was no hole at all. He bounces it all the way to the left side, outruns several guys for the North Carolina defense, and takes it to the house. And this is a dude that can not only bust those long outside plays, but can run between the tackles and get it done. I think he runs with a low center of gravity. He's got his tremendous balance. He's got an excellent vision, as we just saw. And he can catch passes out of the backfield, as we're seeing right here on this highlight. Which he gets no credit for. So this is a dude that I think, may not be a first rounder and may not get a ton of pub leading up to the draft, but somebody's going to get this guy and is going to fall in love with him in fall camp. What do you think about Williams?
It's funny is the more I sit here watching him play, once again, this is another St. Louis kid. out of St. John's Vianney High School. The part I like about Kyron Williams is he reminds me a lot of, remember Terry Allen, the old Vikings running back that went to Clemson?
Oh, yeah.
You know, not the biggest, not the fastest, but great balance, low center of gravity. I mean, look at his thighs. He's just a kid that just runs with a purpose, and it just shows. I mean, is he going to be an every down back? Maybe, maybe not if he finds the right situation. But I could see this kid really showing something out at the next level.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about all the success that Notre Dame football has had the past 3 or 4 years, and really a lot of that was predicated upon Williams and what he was able to do in the run game. I mean, this is a kid that was counted on for production nonstop, and not only did he produce, but I feel like he exceeded expectations and was really a leader and a captain on this Notre Dame football team. And I was just so impressed with him. And in nearly every game that I watched, he just seemed to produce nonstop and was a dude that, you know, especially this year with Cohen at quarterback, had some questionable passing abilities, to say the least. But the running game never sloughed off. And this kid produced no matter who they were playing. And I really think he may be one of the steals of this draft.
Agreed. Where do you see him going, though? Like a third or fourth rounder?
I see him probably going in the third round. And I think if somebody gets him in the third round, that's a steal. Because I think he's a guy that can slide in and play right away. He's been, you know, he's polished. I mean, I don't see, he can pass protect, as I mentioned, not, you know, doesn't get any credit for it, but he can catch balls out of the backfield, and then he's a tremendous runner with amazing vision. So I think third round is probably where he'll be selected. But I think, you know, if he goes ahead of that or goes higher, I wouldn't be blown away. And I think a team, you know, it wouldn't be hurting itself doing that.
A Denver would be a perfect fit for him.
Yeah, I think they need some help, especially losing the Wisconsin running back to free agency. They're going to have at least one other back behind the North Carolina kid who's kind of stepping into the starter role.
Yeah, Javonte Williams, you got it.
Thank you for the name. But yeah, real quick, I just wanted to hit on. We've got Chris Booker coming up here in 1 second, but I wanted to hit on the corners. And the guy that I really like is a guy that's really being talked about right now a lot, and that's Gardner, Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. This is a kid who, in my opinion, is the best corner in this draft. I love the way that he can tackle, like we just saw there in the run game. I love his coverage ability. This is a kid where I really don't see – I couldn't find anything wrong with him. And that's kind of hard to do when you're looking at defensive backs. So what did you think about Sauce? And is there anybody else that you like more than him at the corner position?
Shockingly, Derek Stingley Jr.
Yeah.
You know, I love Sauce Gardner, and his stats don't lie. I mean, not giving up a touchdown during his 4 years in Cincinnati is pretty freaking amazing. In some ways, I look at Stingley, though, and I wonder, he saw all of his friends go to the pros and do well. And you wonder, in some ways, in 2020 and 2021, he kind of sat back and just made sure he didn't get hurt, because he was the best player on that national championship team in 2019. I mean, there's no questions asked. He was just that freaking good. I just don't see him not getting picked before. I mean, if he gets to the Vikings at 12, the Vikings are going to take him. I don't care who else is there. The Vikings will get him at 12.
Yeah, I see the Vikings. We talked about this the other day, but there's going to be a corner selected by the Vikings. I can't see them going into the season with Dantzler as their starting corner again. Obviously, Patrick Peterson found the fountain of youth and played pretty good last year, but they need help at the corner position big time. And I can see, if Sauce is still on the board, I can see him going to Minnesota without a doubt, and fitting in on that defense.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I like Sauce. I think he's obviously playing for Coach Fickell in Cincinnati. I think he's been groomed well, and just is a playmaker, and that's what you need to be productive at the next level, is those ball skills and also the athletic ability, which he obviously has. So moving along here, we'll get into more of these draft breakdowns as we move along in our show throughout the off season here. But I want to go ahead and bring in our guest for today, and that is Chris Booker. Hey, Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
Hey, we're doing good, Chris. Thank you so
Good.
much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
No problem. Just going to get right into it. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today. Obviously, we love your story, and you're a guy that has put the work in, and that's what I love. I mean, I played Division III football, so I wasn't on TV, but I still had to put in the work to get on the field and to get it done. And so I just wanted to hear a little bit about your journey, man, and what kind of drove you to come to Ohio State and put in all that work, after, starting out at Dayton and transferring to OSU.
Yeah, so I started at Dayton. I was a scholarship player type player there, and it didn't really work out. It wasn't close to home, so I decided to go to a school where I knew I had family at, and my cousin went to Ohio State at the time, and so I decided to go to Ohio State just to be a student there. And obviously, football, the love for football is kind of hard to get away from you. And I joined, I was playing like 7-on-7 and that type of flag football intramural leagues with my cousin, and that really like made me realize that I still had like some inner fire to play the game, and that competitive nature never really went away. So I wanted to test out like the club team.
Yep.
At Ohio State, and then that's how I joined the club team. And my coach Grega, he was really the guy who like got me on the varsity team. He sent out my film to both Justin Perez and Tim Hinton, two guys who handle recruiting processes there, and they gave me the chance to join the team and give me a little tryout interview type thing, and went well. So I decided to walk on. But yeah, I as soon as I joined the team, I heard my coach talk about Coach Greg. I've heard him talk about it before, but he was like, I've heard him say that I was just too talented to play on the club team, and I felt like it was still like really fun, like hanging out with the guys and being on that level. And I think if I didn't play at the club level, my love for football probably would have went away, because it was so fun, and it's just a different type of atmosphere when you're going in the shoe. You're kind of just out there, and everybody is playing just because they love football and they want to keep playing football, and that really like brings like a different energy to the feel of the game and to your team, and every practice and every situation that you get in off the field. So it was different, and those relationships that I made on the club level are definitely some relationships that I'm going to keep the rest of my life, and I'm grateful for that time. But yeah, then I joined the varsity team 2019, summer of 2019, and I was really light. So I've always been kind of a lighter guy. I've always been like a skill player. When I was really young, I mean, really young, I was one of the bigger guys, but that changed quick. And so I knew when I joined the team that I was going to have to get stronger. And if I didn't get like bigger, because I had never been really comfortable playing, I think the highest weight I got at Dayton was 179.
Yeah.
And I knew that even then I was just like eating all the time and really pushing it. So I knew that I was going to have to get stronger for sure. So I went really hard in the weight room during the season and after the season in the winter.
Yeah, what was that like? The conditioning program and the weightlifting program at Ohio State. I mean, compare and contrast that with what you had at Dayton. What was different?
Difference was probably, well, I was a freshman, so it was different at Dayton, where when you come in at Ohio State and you're kind of like, I was a newcomer, but I wasn't like exactly a freshman, so I didn't really go through what they went through when they first got there because I was so like late there. Typically, summer workouts start in June, and I got there in July because of like processing and needing to like meet some type of requirement to get on the team and like interviews and stuff. So the process took a little long. So I wasn't there initially when they first started summer, but I think it was harder at Ohio State just because like everybody expects you to be strong when you're first getting in there. I remember when I first started and I could only do like 185 on bench. I could only do 185 4 times.
Yeah.
And like the strength coaches were like rolling their eyes and like they're like, oh my God, we got another one of these dudes. But
get this guy bulked up, huh?
Was that Mariotti who was the strength coach when you were there too?
Barry, no.
Mickey Mariotti.
Oh yeah. Coach Mick. Yeah. He was there. You know, there's a couple guys that you work with. My guy has always been Coach Quinn Barham. And I've been working with him since I joined the team. And I was working with him in the time leading up to Pro Day. Because he just really knows like my body and knows how to get me stronger and knows what I need. So I really trust him. But yeah, he was the guy who was kind of like, oh man, this guy's, only benching 185 4 times, and like that number shot up, I assure you.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, after a short amount of time, I was already benching 225, and then it's just, I would just say like the difference is really that it's more like performance and toughness based and focused on you becoming as strong and as tough as you can. Because at Dayton, I feel like we were working out to maintain conditioning and obviously get stronger. And you want to get stronger if you're playing like football against, grown men in college. So when we came in, it was hard. But I just remember like it always being similar at Dayton, and then and it's no disrespect to Dayton, but it was always like when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily invested in it, so I could get away with stuff more, but they're more in your face at Ohio State, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So go ahead. And like I have a bunch of like memories of me when I first got there, and Coach Toos, who's now at I think Boston College, he's the head strength coach there. He was the guy who came in and like kind of was leading my workouts when I was getting adjusted and having that time in the summer, and I probably pissed him off more times than I would have liked. Just not knowing how to do some exercises, and like first getting in there and it being just difficult to like learn the ropes because it was just I was just never used to it.
Yeah, you gotta learn. You gotta start somewhere, and you gotta learn. But obviously, you did learn, and you put the work in. So you get through all that. You get a little bit bigger. You obviously get a chance to be on the field. What was that like, man? Finally getting out there and getting to perform on the biggest stage in the world at Ohio State.
Yeah, it was amazing. My first game in the shoe when I played was 2020. So we weren't playing in front of fans. But when you walk in there, it almost seemed bigger because like it's a gigantic stadium and there's like nobody in there. So it's like a huge echo and you're about to play. Weird. Yeah, you're about to like play, in the biggest game of your life at that stage for me. So I just remember like walking in the locker room before and just being like having so much energy and being so excited, like not like there was not a nervous moment in my body. Just because I was just like, yeah, I'm really about to go play for Ohio State, and like it's it's just crazy to get to that point from where I was. So I think
Yeah.
I was really just more excited than anything, and it went really well. My first game, I got special teams player of the week from the coaches, and I tried my best to make an impact, and then it just went up from there. So I think it was just really just the effort and hard work.
Chris, what after you left club ball and started practicing, when did it feel like, oh crap, this is real? Like this is the big time. Like is there a story or a time where you're like you got rocked or something? You're like lining up against somebody and you're like, oh, this is Jeff Okudah. He's going to get drafted in the first round. I mean, like what can you tell us on that?
It still kind of doesn't feel real. I feel like I'm still going through it. Because like now I have the chance to play in the NFL, and I had the chance to go out and compete at Pro Day and at Ohio State. Like it's like it doesn't really seem like it's real yet. But when I was going through it, like the first thing I thought of when I got in the building was just, okay, you got like a second chance. And then, after that, and I feel like, okay, like now you know what to do in terms of the weight and like the strength. And then like all these talented receivers around me at the time, it was like CJ Saunders, Ben Victor, Austin Mack, and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Garrett was a freshman at the time.
Yeah.
And then all the other guys in the room, KJ Hill, you're just in, all the walk-ons, and there's a lot of talent there always, even if it's not scholarship, and I think like getting in there and just like being that competitive like element changes your mindset. Like it has to. Your mindset has to change. Like you have to like be like, okay, I need to get better every day.
Oh yeah.
If I'm not getting better, then somebody's passing me up, and there's like this sense of urgency, but there's also like this sense of like, it's just cool to just be in the building and be around like all these like athletes that are, about to be in the NFL or great athletes. Like, you're just around like such, magnetic personalities and people all the time, and you're all growing together. So it's really important to, I feel like, stay grounded.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to do with the telling myself to get stronger and stuff like that, because I know it's not gonna, like, I know I have to earn it. Like I'm not just gonna walk in and they're gonna give me an opportunity. I know I had to get stronger if I wanted to get on the field. I know I had to work hard. I know I had to show that I was working hard and give effort.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then there would be times when I was going up against like Damon Arnett and Jeff Okudah and Jordan Fuller and, on the scout team. And you just, it's just like, you feel so great when you win a rep, or, when you have like a good route and you maybe don't get the ball, but you feel like, okay, now like, I've always felt like I can do this, but it shows me that I can do this now, because all these guys are like, NFL talent, and like I'm competing against them and beating them sometimes, and
that's got to be reassuring right there.
Yeah.
No doubt. And talk to us a little bit more, man. I know you just came off the Pro Day. Tell us a little bit about what that was like, going through the drills, performing in front of all those NFL teams. And did you get a chance to talk to any of those, personnel from those squads that were there to watch you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I talked to some of them. I got an agent early in January, and
Nice.
he was talking to some teams before and after, since on my behalf during the pro day. Yeah, I've been in talks with some teams. I'd rather not say who they are before, not to jinx it, but it was on the day of pro day. I'm going in there, and before, you're just making sure that like you get enough food in your system, and you wake up early enough. I couldn't sleep the night before. I made sure I took melatonin. I was like, in bed by 10, like very early, and
just laying there
before. Yeah, just prepared for that, and I still ended up waking up like 2 hours before my alarm went off. And
I jumped out of bed too ready to go.
Yeah, I had tons of energy. I ate 2 meals before because I was just like, I need to maintain this energy. And then I walked in the building at like, I don't know, 10, just getting ready for it. Hey, guy. Sorry, my dog is bothering me.
No worries.
Getting attacked at the table.
No, yeah, I'm good.
Wants to be part of the interview.
Yeah, he does. But let me get back on track here. So yeah,
did you get drills and stuff? I mean, what was it like just going through all the drills, and did you feel like you did well, and were these things that you'd been working on leading up to the pro day?
Oh yeah, definitely. We work on everything. We try to get our pro day training kind of look like we would do speed and then change the direction. And we would do each of those 2 times a week, and then we would have 1 day off. And then strength training every day other than the day off. And we would do all the drills like pro shuttle and everything. And I didn't do bench, but I was still like training bench and strength training my chest and like everything else, so I could like be ready for everything. But yeah, I walk in the building, and the first exercise is vertical jump, and I knew I was gonna jump like around 33. I had been jumping like 34, I think, and training, and like right before I'm about to go up, like a coach comes up to me, like one of the scouts. Actually, it was a coach, and he came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, nice to meet you. I know who you are, and like, good luck today." And like, and then you're like, okay, like, coach just came up to me, and like, so they know like I'm on their radar, and that gave me a little boost.
Yeah.
And I ended up PRing. I jumped 36.
Whoa,
and
nice.
That started my day like really well. So after you have like a great start, you're like, okay, this day is probably gonna go really great, and like, just rode those highs all the way up until the end of it, and ended up having a really good workout overall, and was talking to coaches at the end, or scouts and people at the end. So it was good. Nice. And I think it went, really well, about as well as I could have expected. I was expecting to perform well because I always, I'm always invested in myself, and I know how much work I put in. So I know, what I'm capable of. And I thought I, for the most part, performed well. I know there's things I could have done better still, but felt really good going away from it. And everything I was hearing was great, and what my agent was hearing was great. So it was a great day overall, and just a really surreal moment.
Nice. What mentor helped you the most, as far as not only, stuff that you could take on not only today, but in the future too, as well? Like, was it a player, a coach, a friend, somebody off the field?
Yeah. I would say Coach Quinn Barham. I've been working with him the longest. we sometimes we just sit around and like talk about life, and he's like a big brother to me. Uh, Kind of the guy I trust to really come and like talk to about just anything that's going on in my life, anything at all. And he, has so much knowledge about football, but also life in general. And, the type of person he is a great person. He's a great father and husband, and the type of person I want to strive to be. So I feel like um, having him talk through it and just hearing his thoughts and his mindset and how he goes through it, like close, but I want to be, in that position that he's in one day. So yeah, it's definitely like the type of person that I would say Coach Quinn Brainer.
Nice. Hey, and Chris, I got a question for you. Obviously, you played at a big time high school in St. Louis, and then was a scholarship player at Dayton. So you saw some guys that were talented. But talk to me a little bit about these guys that you were on the team with and caught balls from at Ohio State. I mean, Justin Fields, obviously, one of the biggest guys I've ever seen, one of the best guys I've ever seen that stepped in year one and just produced right away. And, didn't seem big for him at all, from when he got there to the minute he left.
Yeah.
And then, there really wasn't a drop off this year when CJ Stroud stepped in. So just talk to us a little bit about those two guys and what you saw out of them talent wise.
Justin is just, a crazy athletic all around QB that you would want to build your franchise around. And the Bears are really lucky that they have him. Cool, calm, and collected, like wherever he is. Even on that's his personality doesn't change. And he's always like, I feel like he's always like thinking one step ahead. It seemed like he was, one of the smartest quarterbacks I've ever been around. And then CJ too. CJ is very smart, very capable, a great arm, can make any throw on the field. Same with Justin. And both the talent like you would expect at Ohio State. And it was crazy like getting to compete with them because, you come out of high school and you hope you get a good quarterback. Like,
yeah,
it's not really guaranteed, but you always hope. At Dayton, there were good quarterbacks, and then you get to Ohio State, and it's just like it's crazy the amount of talent and how lucky you can really get because you get to play with, first round guy, 11th overall, I think, for Justin, and then CJ, will definitely be up there, next year or the year after that, wherever he chooses. So it's definitely a blessing just to be around that talent and see how they work and operate and how they, approach every situation and every down and how they operate. So it's really cool to see. And I think they're gonna go really far in their careers, and I know Justin's just getting started, and CJ too. So
I agree.
Absolutely. Well, what advice would you give to a future coach, a future player, now that going what you've gone through, looking back on it? What would you do to give advice to even, Chris Booker 4 years ago?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, first of all, to other people, I would just say like, and even like younger me, I would say just believe in yourself. There was like times when I wasn't always believing in myself, and know that if you work hard enough at your craft, that you'll just start gaining more confidence and belief and knowing that you can do something because the results are going to show on the field and in your training, and you need to just trust that those results are going to yield something. That was the biggest thing for me, was that I always like trusted that the work would turn out to be, it would pay off. And I would always I would always tell myself, like, when I was younger, like, just play as hard as you can. But really, you can play as hard as you can. You can always give effort. That's the one thing you can control. You can't really control what you're gifted with, and your genetics and everything, but you can control your effort. But then, how hard you work outside of that will determine what kind of player you're going to be. So, hard work, and effort, and always, striving to be the best player you can be, and having confidence in yourself to just do it. And then, for myself, I would say, trust the process. Trust the process. Wasn't exactly. I would probably take a different route initially. If the knowledge that I have now is just like so much more than I had in high school, so I feel like I would make different choices, just even like with school and everything, and just knowing what I know now. But I think hindsight is 20/20. So I'm not. I'm very proud of my journey, and I'm grateful to be in the position that I am now. And I think that it's really, really taught me a lot, about life and as a person. So I'm really grateful for that. And I would just say trust the process and hard work and effort.
Yeah, man, you can only make the decisions when they come in front of you. And I think you've done a great job, man. And I just want to tell you from all of us here on our show and everybody, I'm a Buckeye fan. So Buckeye fans in general, man, we're very proud of you and the work you put in and all the great job that you did the past couple of years, making this team better and producing out in the field. So we wish you nothing but the best. Hopefully we can check in with you again as the process continues. And we thank you so much for joining us today and wish you all the luck as you go forward in this. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris, and good luck to you. Just keep doing what you're doing, man. As you said, sometimes hard work does pay off, and if you keep working as hard as you are, I know it will. It'll work out for you down the road. Okay.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, Chris. Have a good one. Thank you, man. Appreciate you coming on the show. All right, that was Chris Booker, man.
Great story.
I feel like I learned a ton of stuff today because that was awesome, and it was really cool to hear. I wanted to hear his story. I've read some articles and I've seen some clips of him, but I wanted to hear it firsthand. I wanted to get my questions answered and hear about his story. What'd you think, James?
It's a great story. I mean, not only that, just finding the passion again for it. I think that's something a lot of people don't understand. It's just that, with a lot of things, people just kind of fall in love with it. And he found going back to playing club ball, going back to the basics, made him love the sport that much more. And not only that, to see what he was made of. He really pushed himself against the best competition. I mean, let's be honest, that that wide receiver room is insane.
Yeah, no,
I can't.
He was naming guys that I honestly forgot about. Austin Mack, Benjamin Victor, KJ Hill. I mean, KJ Hill was the leading receiver one of those years over all the other guys. They had, like he mentioned, Garrett Wilson was on the roster at that time, Chris Olave, but they didn't even really see the field that much because it was, Benjamin Victor, it was Austin Mack, it was, those guys getting most of the reps. And for him to be able to carve a niche out for himself and see the field and work his way onto the field in special teams, coming from that position group, probably the most talented position group on that team, which, as we saw, made the college football playoff every year he was there.
I mean, if you had to go back and putting it in perspective, once again, showing you how old I am, you would have to look back at the 1980s University of Miami roster, their receiving room, where, heck, even the guys on the fourth string were first-round draft picks. I mean, it was just like during the Michael Irvin era. It was just crazy how freaking talented that room was. And he was there at Ohio State during the midst of a great run.
Right.
And I hope the best for him. He's going to, you could definitely tell the passion is there.
Yeah.
The love for the game, the craft is there.
Well, and he said he would tell his younger self some things. I got to tell you, I wish I had his head on my shoulders when I was his age.
Oh, completely.
Because he is he's very mature for his age, and I was very impressed with the way that he thinks about things. And I loved his perspective because, and I didn't play big time ball, but just going to play football in college like I did, I never really realized how much work it took. And you don't really realize that till you get there. In high school, you go and you practice for an hour or two after school, and then you play a game on Friday, and that's kind of it. Well, you get to college, and it's you meet with your position coaches, and you watch film of practice, not just game film. You watch practice film, and then you practice 2-3 hours. You get your ankles taped. You go to the training room. You watch team if you're on offense or defense. You watch team with film with the offense or the defense that you're with. You have meetings with your coaches. It never stops. You have to work out. You have a lot of these programs now have a dietitian who tells you what to eat. I mean, it's 24/7 work and effort. And for him to rekindle his love, and then work all the way from not being able to bench 185 to being the Big Ten Player of the Week. That's very impressive to me, and I'm really glad we had him on the show today and got to hear his perspective.
It was like when he was talking about the first time he ran out in the field in 2020 during COVID, when there's nobody in the stands. I could only imagine it must have been like 7-year-old him, like on Christmas Eve, waiting for Santa to come bring the gifts. I mean, the same type of anticipation. You could just see it in his eyes. Like I bet you his heart was going like 100 miles an hour the second he had that tunnel running out onto the field. You can't pay to have that kind of just over that joy, that just pure joy that he must have had. So.
No doubt. And you said it best. You said, when did it become real to you? And he's like, it still doesn't feel real. I like that a lot. So
perfect.
Well, cool. I enjoyed getting to speak to him today. I liked our breakdown. I enjoyed what we brought to the table with this draft, and we're going to continue. We got into the edge rushers today. We talked wide receivers, we talked running backs, and we talked corners. And next time we get together, we'll dig into those other position groups and take it a step further. But great show today.
Before we go, we have one announcement we have to make too as well. Well, two announcements, but one is one of our previous guests who was a Hawaii alum has now grad transferred to the University of Oregon, and that is Donovan Dalton, the safety out of Sawahara High School, but really out of Apple Valley, Minnesota. So want to congratulate a little dub on heading up to Eugene and playing a little Pac-12 ball.
We can finally announce it. Woo!
Yes. And
we weren't sure where he was headed, but we knew he was in the portal, and we didn't want to dig on him on the questions on our show, but it's great to hear that he's found his home in Eugene.
He is a duck.
Awesome.
And you got to remember, make sure people like and subscribe to the YouTube channel too as well.
Yeah, get after it. We got to get that YouTube channel going. We have a new one. Just do a search for man coverage. Maybe type in Knoxville Nate or James Bonneville with it, and you will find it. But all of our shows are up there, and you can download them. You can watch them. You can watch it live there. You can watch the replays, but definitely hit that up. And congrats to Donovan, who was a guest on our show with his brother and his dad, finally getting out in Eugene. Perfect place for him to go. Stellar defensive player, now getting to play under Coach Lanning out there. I think it's going to be a tremendous spot for him. So, anywho, thank you for bringing that up, as I forgot to announce that. And thanks to everybody for tuning in today, as we appreciate all of you listening, watching, and tuning in on your Sunday. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk to everybody real soon. James?
Hey,
Thank you, buddy.
sayonara. Talk to you.
All right, bud. Have a good one.
Bye.